Hello people! So today I wanted to talk about negative thoughts and negative thinking because I went through a season where I was really struggling with negative thinking and I found it hard to overcome those thoughts and start thinking positive again. So I did some research and I've been working through it with God, and I feel like I've come out the other side of it, and I have some methods that might be useful to other people if you struggle with negative thinking. So I'm just going to share that with you. So my first point is that I want to make, that is that negative thoughts are not made to stick around in your head. They're not made to stay there. They're meant to pass you by. So just get that in your head first, because that helps with the whole method. So I just think I've got this kind of method that kind of helps me to think about it in a way that makes it easier to get rid of them, if that makes sense. So yeah, I just think, so if you think about a stray dog, right? So it's going past your house and you can let it go wherever it is. It's like a wild animal, it's stray, you can let it pass you by. It's not your responsibility, so you can do that. Or you can take hold of it and catch it and bring it into your house, which is your safe place. Your home is your safe place, where you live, where you feel at peace, right? So you can bring the dog in, you feed it, you entertain it, you maybe wash it, you try to take the time to find out how to return it maybe, which is going to be difficult because obviously it's going to be hard to find out where it came from. So then you kind of stuck with it, taking care of it, entertaining it, you don't really know what to do with it. You begin to think, should I have taken this dog into my house, or should I have just left it because it wasn't my responsibility in the first place? So that's kind of a weird explanation, but yeah, try to think about that and then think about the dog as the negative thought. It's kind of there passing you by in your mind. It might just pop up in your mind, I don't know what it might be, you're not good enough to do something. You may have been rejected by someone and think, oh, I'm rubbish, I'm not worthy of love, or I'm a failure, things like that, whatever pops up into your mind. So that comes into your mind like the dog, the negative thought, and oh, you take that on board, you take that in and you let it affect you. So you start thinking about that thought and taking it deeper, opening it up, and oh, why am I not good enough? Why am I thinking that? It must be true. It must be there's loads of reasons why I'm not good enough. There's loads of reasons why I'm a failure, and you'll keep going on and on and on, and it will build up, and it will become a bigger thought than it was when it first came. So in the end, after you've taken on that negative thought and you've thought about it more, you've kept it in your head, you've built on it, you've fed it, your brain automatically brings back memories where you felt that bad emotion before. So then you probably start thinking about the past, when you felt rejected in the past again, and then when you felt rejected before that, or when you felt like you're a failure before that, and you just start remembering all these things that relate to that emotion. And in the end, you're going to end up in just a bad mood. From that one thought turns into a chain of bad thoughts, a bad mood, and then maybe a bad day. And it can get worse than that. It can go further than that as well. So a second point I just want to make is, say if you hurt yourself, if you injure yourself, say you get a big cut on your arm, you're in an accident, you get a big cut. Do you go opening up that cut, seeing what's inside and thinking about why you've got it, or do you just leave it and let it heal up and go away and then forget about it? Obviously you don't. You just leave it. You leave it and you forget about it, and it heals and it goes away, and you don't even remember that you got it. So that's how we should treat negative thoughts. We shouldn't allow it to come into our mind and start opening it up, digging around. Why have I got this? Making an agreement with it. Oh yeah, so you get a thought that I'm a failure. Oh yeah, I am a failure. And then you go into think of the reasons why, and you don't need to do that. You don't need to go digging around, because that thought is not yours. That's just a distraction, an attack. It's not good for you. So why would you want to take that on board? So what do we do when we get a negative thought? What do we do in that moment when we get the thought and we don't want to agree with it? we don't want to take it on board because we know where it's going to lead and we know it's not going to be good. So what do? Basically, we don't think about it. If you try and think about a way to counteract it, that's still thinking about it, and that's still going to empower the thought. So like if you're just doing something, if you're at work and you get a thought, just don't think about it. Think about something else. Just think about what you're doing and just don't give it energy. Don't give the thought energy at all. And what does the Bible say about this? What would the Bible tell us to do? Like, what would Jesus tell us to do in this situation? Well, Isaiah 26 says, "You will keep in perfect peace all who trust in you, all whose thoughts are fixed on you." So that's basically saying when our thoughts are fixed on Jesus, when we think about God and when we're thinking about good things, things of the kingdom, then he's going to keep us in perfect peace. Whereas if we're thinking about how much of a failure we are or how we've been rejected, that's not a good thought. That's not thinking about the good things, things of Jesus. That's thinking about like a worldly thought that's negative. So that's not fixing our minds on him. And he says if we fix our minds on him, he will keep us in perfect peace. So instead of thinking about that negative thought, think about Jesus, what Jesus has done for you, the good things in your life, like how far you've come from where you started, how you've overcome obstacles, like if you've got a goal that you're working towards, if you've improved, like working towards that goal, think about that. And that's the kind of things we should be fixing our minds on, and not negative things that pop into our head. It's just really not worth it. And in Psalm 55, David writes, "So here's what I've learnt through it all. Leave all your cares and anxieties at the feet of the Lord, and measureless grace will strengthen you." So that's the Passion Translation. But this is also saying, like, cast your anxieties and your cares, your worries onto the Lord. Like, give him your burdens, all the things that are making you feel heavy, all the negative thoughts, the things that are making you feel bad about yourself. Just give it to him. This is what I do. I just say, Jesus, I'm feeling so and so, I'm feeling not good, and this is not how you want me to feel. This is not the feelings that you've chosen for me. This is not what you say about me. So I'm going to give this to you. I'm going to allow you to lift this off of me so I don't have to feel this, because you died so that I could live in freedom, so that I could be free, so that I could live a good life. And he took all our burdens upon himself on the cross. So why would we allow ourselves to feel that when he's taken that from us, so we don't have to feel that? And say if you've got like a feeling of like depression come onto you, like I would pray like for the opposite, for Jesus to give me an exchange, like the opposite emotion. So I would pray like, give me joy, allow me to feel joy now, instead of feeling depressed, instead of feeling sad, instead of sadness, he gives us joy. So just pray that, just ask for that, because that's what he wants to give you. He didn't create us to live in like these bad moods and to have bad thoughts about ourselves. Like, just remind yourself what Jesus says about you. What does God say about you? And it's all good things. He has like great plans for us, and he says good things about us. He loves us. So just think about that, like, because that's the truth. The word of God is the truth. Negative thoughts are not the truth for you. And 1 Peter 5 says, "Give all your worries and cares to God, for he cares about you. Stay alert, watch out for the great enemy, the devil. He prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour." So this just reminds us to be strong in our faith and focus on what Jesus says about us, not what the devil says, because the devil's going around trying to lie to you, tell you bad things about yourself, and it's all not true. It's not even worth time thinking about. Don't even think about it, because like in an instant, you know that's not the truth. Because if it was a thought from God, it would be good, and if it's not, then it's not worth your time. So next time that you get a negative thought into your mind, just remind yourself, like, just don't take it on board. Focus on the good things that God said about you, and don't even give that thought like the time of day, because it's not worth it and it's meaningless. And I just really want to read a verse that really encourages me if I have a negative thought, because it kind of counteracts it, and that's Isaiah 61. So I'm just going to read that to you. "The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has appointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, and release from darkness to the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favour and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn and provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of his splendour. And I just really love that verse because it just kind of reminds me like what God says about us, what God wants to remind us, like that our purpose is from him, like what our purpose is in life. And it even says like joy instead of mourning, praise instead of despair. Like this is all counteracting negative thoughts. So like just think about that, like if you're in like a negative thinking swell, just like even read that. I find that really helps and it just really encourages me, so maybe try that. And also I just really think it's much easier to counteract negative thoughts if we're really well rested, like physically and mentally. Like if you've given your mind rest, like, I don't know what you do to rest your mind. I do like a bit of meditation, like just being quiet and like focusing on breathing and just reminding myself to be present in the moment, and that kind of relaxes my mind. And by being well rested, that's going to enable you to be able to be in control of your mind much easier. Whereas if you're really tired and you don't have any energy and you're like really burnt out, then it's going to be really difficult to overcome the negative thinking, if that makes sense. So yeah, just surround yourself with great people who are encouraging and uplifting and like happy and joyful to be around, and make sure you get a lot of physical rest and mental rest as well, because that's really going to help. And lastly, I just want to encourage you, like today, if you haven't already, like just take the time to be mindful, like sit or lie down by yourself if you can somewhere, and like just use your senses and just like take in your surroundings and just be quiet and like focus on your breathing and just like be still and just remember who God is, and just kind of think about all the good things that he's done for you, like all the good things in your life and how he's blessed you. And just like don't rush it, just kind of rest there in that moment. And then I just find that really helps me to be at peace. Like it helps my mind to like unwind and be at peace, and makes me feel much more clear in my thinking. So yeah, I just feel like that would really help, like getting your mind into a state of peace and rest, which really helps with countering negative thinking as well. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope this has like encouraged you and helped you if you struggled with negative thinking at all. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll try and answer them like as quick as I can. So thanks and have a good day. Bye.